are we just going to have no development of accounting professionals in the UK in the future? Because AI is just going to take that initial layer and no one's going to hire anyone?
I think it's a game changer of an investment and a bold one to make. 1 billion for the next 3 years is probably a drop in the water for most nations, but at a company level, it's very relevant.
According to Digits, when they compared the performance of their bookkeeping agent to that of 12 outsourced accountants, the company found that their AI agent delivered 97.8% accuracy, whilst the human accounts were 79.1% accurate. And it also found that the AI agent was 8,500 times faster and operated at 24 times lower cost. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Digi-Tools and Accrual podcast, brought to you, of course, by us, the Digital Disruptors. And of course, you can get your weekly update of news here from us on the pod. And don't forget, we have the live stream every Thursday and the newsletter. So make sure you sign up to these, follow us on all the socials, and you'll get the latest updates and news as and when you want it and how you want to consume it. But I'm joined by Indy and Ryan. The threesome are back together. This is very exciting. So, Ryan, how are you doing, my friend?
Please don't call us a threesome, John. It makes you feel weird. But I'm good, thanks. I'm good. I'm still too hot, even with no hair. So, just free access for heat to escape. I'm still overheating. It's probably because I only wear polo shirts. Maybe I need to wear something more airy.
More airy, not fairy.
Or hairy.
Oh, hairy. Indeed. Maybe like khaki. You should go full like Lawrence of Arabia. That's what you should do.
Oh, I could do. I would literally melt in. Is it Egypt? It's based. Where's it based?
I think so.
Yeah. I'd melt in Egypt. Someone said they're heading over to Europe and it's going to be 43 degrees, and I was like, nope.
Yeah,
I'll just cancel all plans.
That's bad, isn't it? I had a holiday in Italy when it was like that once, and like literally you're waking up, going in the cold shower, and then before you go to bed having a cold shower as well, and it's just you could pretty much wring the bed sheets out by the end of the night. It was pretty grim. Not a good place to be. Anyway, from soggy bed sheets to someone who's always super cool, Indy, how are you doing?
I don't know if I can. What an intro.
What a transition.
From a soggy bedsheet, you dirty dog. Yeah, I'm good. Oh, I was just watching as well. Just like my mind has gone to the gutter. I was watching some rubbish on. I don't know if it's just me. I sometimes get like different social platforms will just spam you with rubbish that obviously you've clicked on once, and then it just wants to keep you in its algorithm to say, oh yeah, this will piss you off some more and you'll waste 2.5 hours of your life on it. I was watching some obscene YouTube video, and it was cool. It was by disruptors. I was saying, it was disruptors. That's why I paid attention to it, because I thought, oh, that's very close to us, except we're digital and we talk about accounting tech. And they were talking to Andrew Tate and Bonnie Blue about the definition of feminism, and both had a very interesting take on that. For those who obviously don't know who Bonnie Blue is, she is a big OnlyFans and adult worker who's one of her biggest claims to fame is some sort of thing that she calls a body count, and I didn't really understand what any of that meant until she said it was 1,057 in 30 days. Now, if you've never come across any of that before, it's not the sort of count that we're used to in this podcast, because we only talk about the accounts and accounting tech. But so all that to say, it's fresh off the heels of that. I'm doing good.
I don't know how to follow that, John. You got anything?
No, I mean, I thought it was going to be a story about getting like adverts for oddballs or something like that on like Instagram, but clearly not. No, Indy's got a whole different like search history to dive into there. But wow, yeah, well done.
It's about female empowerment. What did you expect? And obviously something that's going to fly in the face of that is just two very interesting protagonists in what that does or does not mean. So fascinating, not worth 2.5 hours of your life. If anyone that's interested, don't. It's boring. Listen to this podcast instead.
I should mention as well that today's episode is sponsored by the friendliest accounting software in the world, which is FreeAgent, which, of course, for those of you who don't know, and how could you possibly not, they are the small business accounting module that's out there looking to work with you. And if even better, if you bank with NatWest or have a Metal account or RBS or anyone else in that group, you also get a free account, which is amazing. So you get banking and accounting software all in one package, and to solve your accounting blues. Not only that, but you get to connect into a whole seamless suite of products. Stop laughing at me, Ryan. You get to integrate with a whole incredible ecosystem of products which they've been creating and linking into. So you can now do pretty much anything you want to with your FreeAgent software.
Someone's put sugar in his tea, haven't they? He's
eh?
bouncing off the walls with that intro. Right, let's crack on with some app news.
Dear. Good grief. Right, let's get the news on. Let's do the news. Let's do the news. Or in this case, let's do the nudes.
Well, I've got something on the Big Four. Well, is it Big Four or is it AI? Let's talk about both. So as we'd probably start to expect, as AI starts getting rolled out across the accounting industry, the Big Four have decided they're going to slash the intake for their graduates. Now, what does that really mean? Well, KPMG have done the steepest cuts, trimming its 2023 levels of 1,400 graduates on an intake down to 940, which is quite a steep cut down. And why are they able to do this? They're using AI to automate and to replace those administrative tasks that a lot of those entry level graduates will be completing. Now, I guess that's great, right? We've seen AI that can automate a lot of the process, but aren't we creating a bigger problem by doing this? Because now we're not got anyone coming up through the ranks. Like the beauty, I guess, of the intakes from the Big Four is that either they would move upwards and become the future partners in those larger firms, or they would leave those firms and go to other firms and therefore develop and get better in those. But now we've not got any of that. So are we just going to have no development of accounting professionals in the UK in the future because AI is just going to take that initial layer and no one's going to hire anyone? It seems really short-sighted. And I do worry about the future of the profession in this country if all we're going to do is bring in AI and offshore everything else. I'm full rant at the moment, sorry.
I thought that is, the approach that the Big Four were taking is quite radical. And I was quite surprised to see that, given the overall rate of even adoption of different types of careers or graduates within banking have been a little bit more they've been a bit more front-footed in introducing programs for graduates that would see them train in almost like a degree apprenticeship form. And I would have thought that the Big Four would do a similar thing where they, instead of leaning back from accounting graduates or having graduates come at graduate programs, instead that they would innovate a little bit more and maybe have something that would, again, be similar to some of the bigger banks who have then wanted to retain talent but have not wanted to do it at a premium. Instead, they've come up with almost, like I said, a degree apprenticeship, and that I think would have been a much better route for them rather than just saying, oh, AI is going to do everything. So I thought it was quite a bold move.
It is bold. It is bold. I just wonder if it's short-sighted. I know they do have a big cull, and I guess what they're looking at is that they'll reduce the culling of the staff as they progress through. So they'll take on those that are really excelling, or the cream of those that apply for the Big Four. But yeah, I mean, most of it we're seeing in audit, right? That's where the AI impact's having the biggest effect, especially on the Big Four. And so a lot of that's incredibly mechanical and incredibly boring work, but you still need to bring people through to develop and train them. And I'm just worried that is going to get lost if this is the start of an ever-growing trend where we just keep reducing the intake.
Or maybe it's an opportunity for some of the mid-tier firms to take on more talent that they would have otherwise missed out on. So there's always some benefit, I guess, that comes from the fact that the talent pool will become bigger, and therefore more people, the bar will also raise.
I think the this reduced numbers that's happening here it's one that we've got to be sort of cautious of, I think, going forward into the future, not just because of the technological sort of impact potentially. Obviously this is mainly down to sort of AI and the use of AI, but the last time we had a big cut in the numbers that were recruited by the Big Four happened when we had the banking crash and the banking crisis, and then there was a little bit of a dip around COVID. And what happens is there's a long tail to that, which means that at some point in the future, these organizations suddenly find that they've got a talent gap because they don't have enough bums on seats as it happens. And what then happens is they go and raid other accounting firms for that talent, and they've got the financial clout to be able to do that. So this has a sort of a longer term strategic impact for sort of mid and smaller size firms who continue to recruit trainee staff and promote them up through the ranks as they go through their exams and their experience grows and stuff. So it is something to be aware of. I think it's maybe also on the audit side in particular, this is a tipping point, because for the last probably 4 years, maybe a little bit longer, the Big Four firms have been throwing technology and people at audit to get over the problems that they have with the regulators, and obviously this challenge around quality, audit quality. And such that they've been actually getting rid of clients, down to the mid-tier firms, and we've been very happily taking them off them as a consequence. So maybe this is a tipping point as well. Maybe they feel like they've got this convergence of technology, improved their compliance and their regulatory requirements, and so as a consequence, now they're going to stop getting rid of those clients. So that trickle down is going to stop, and that means that the market's going to go back to being really competitive again.
Well, moving on from AI, I've got something from Karbon. They've released their product roadmap. I think we talked a little bit about this at their, wasn't a Karbon summit. I can't remember what the term was, but it was a Karbon basically event where they were talking about the future of the system and all the things they were going to do regarding tax and AI. Well, there's a few bits that come out the back end of this. And one of them that I thought was quite interesting is they are deeply enhancing their portal. So essentially, you now can get a premium client portal inside the system and share information back and forth, an area where you can put it permanently so that your clients come in and interact with that information. We talked about end-to-end tax workflows. They delve into a bit more detail about what that is. If you want to, I guess, hear about this more, please do catch a prior episode. But the bread and butter of Karbon for quite a long time is their email triage system. And I was quite surprised on is they've not had the ability to delegate, inviting a colleague or assistant to manage your inbox for a long time. And that surely has been a huge issue because they want you to work in the system. And I've never really considered this, but people go on holiday. So what happened with your workload when you went away? I just assumed it was there. It appears it wasn't. They've now brought that in, I assume, by customer demand more than anything else. Other bits they've brought out are enhanced engagements, so from engagement letters all the way through to payments, and the ability to intelligently scan information and complete tasks for you. So something that's looking at documents as it comes into the system, extracting information from it, and then sourcing the task and going, have we now completed that? Have we requested information? The right information's come in, mark task complete, move on the workflow, which is a brilliant little bit of AI. And that's where, I guess, where we talked about before on other systems and other releases, where they're focusing on these big AI problems, solve little bits with AI agents and build them up over time. And I think you've got a really powerful tool that grows.
So in some incredible news from Visma that we reported on a while back, we got wind that they were looking to float. And I think the initial idea was that they were going to be floating on the Netherlands Stock Exchange. So HG Capital own 70% of Visma, which they bought back in 2006. So a long old time ago, like 19 years ago, if my maths is right. And they bought it for a £380 million valuation, and the company is now worth an estimated 19 billion euros. So what's that? And sort of approximate terms, probably around about 17.5 billion, something like that. So that's a whopping return on investment for HG, I guess. Very, very impressive. Anyway, as we said, they were looking to float, and they were considering doing that on the Dutch market. And the timing for that was planned, I think, for around about probably March of next year. But anyway, it's been announced that they're now eyeing up the London Stock Exchange and going for that, which is fascinating for a number of reasons. Number one, there's been a huge exodus of tech companies off the FTSE and off the London Stock Exchange in favour of American markets in particular, and also on the flip side of that, the UK government announced a whole bunch of changes to the listing requirements and stuff, which just maybe has tempted Visma across. Now, they do say in the reports that we found out about this is that Visma are still waiting on some additional listing reforms to be in place before committing to a London listing. So maybe they're using this as a bit of leverage in the argument about where to go. Or maybe this is just all part of a ruse, and actually they're going to end up on the US market as well. But no matter what, it looks like that this IPO that is definitely going to happen. What market it happens on or what valuation, we're not still sure of, to be perfectly honest. But it's going to happen probably in the next 2 or 3 months, I would say, because to get onto any of these major stock markets, you probably need a lead time of about 6 months to get everything in place and just to make sure you've got all your I's dotted and T's crossed, as it were. So this is going to happen, and it's going to happen fairly quickly, I guess.
Nice. And will you be chucking a few quid that way?
Oh, well, I could be tempted. I mean, I will definitely wait and see to see what the listing paperwork looks like and what's in there. But yeah, I mean, they are one of the biggest technology companies, about to go into a market that makes it accessible for you and I to invest in. So I think it would probably be a good idea. But like I say, that depends on what's in the docs and whether it's a good investment or not.
I'm going to move on to Socket. It's completely
I bet you
different. So our friend Johnny Gorn, who runs Socket, and they have launched their new Leads module, which is a fully integrated client pipeline solution that aims to be simpler and more affordable than employing a traditional CRM system. So it emphasizes user setup and a cost-effective way for businesses to manage the client pipeline. And there's a breakdown of some of the key points, like fully integrated into the client pipeline for managing the client interactions and the sales process, simplicity, ease of use, the fact that it's all connected in, value for money, so you're not having to pay for another separate system and link that in. And obviously there's a time inefficiency in that, as well as, like, again, having a stronger data policy when you have multiple softwares. So a lot of value to it being executed in this way. And I think it's about time that we saw more of the systems taking that approach, because things like Salesforce, HubSpot, they have become a little bit more of a bin of data. And I think that's really unhelpful because they try to overcover many, many use cases. But what I really like about this is that it will come at it just from the accounting a standpoint and the lens of seeing it connect to all of the data points that an accountant would benefit from that perhaps don't exist in some of the other systems, and without getting someone who's going to customize it for you and they would be an expert of that software. So a little bit more personalization. Well done to Johnny Gorn and the team on launching that.
Absolutely. Kudos to Johnny and the team, constantly building out things that the market wants. And I think that's the most important thing. They do listen very attentively and then react to that. And I guess Socket Leads, not to be confused with their S&M range, just in case you're wondering.
FYI has integrated with BGL, which is already used by practices in Australia and New Zealand, is now available to UK practices so that they can bring powerful automation and document management capabilities. What does it do? So the BGL integration helps practices streamline compliance workflows by automating the import of key company documents from BGL CAS 360. There's an automatic sync for compliance documents, and they are automatically imported overnight into FYI. Auto filing documents are automatically filed against the correct client in FYI. Customized settings, you can choose to import all of the documents from BGL or only the signed documents. So you give you a bit of control to the practice over what's brought into FYI, and then seamless collaboration and workflow. So once the documents are in, they can be reviewed, shared, added to tasks and workflows, and helping the team to stay on top of all the compliance actions across the board. And it's available to pro and elite plans. So very good news for FYI users.
Awesome. Well, you know what, that FYI BGL integration sounds really exciting. This is a bit of an iteration, I think, for what we're seeing in the market, because they've kind of had a very low-key integration in the past. And I guess if we're speaking specifically about the UK market, if I can get my teeth into that, then this is really about the cosec information and what else you can do within BGL and then feed that back in and out of FYI. So a great demonstration of how you can have an integrated suite. And this is the kind of stuff that I think people like Bright will be looking at now that they've acquired things like My Work Papers and Inform Direct, and obviously connecting that into the wider jigsaw of products that they've got there. Moving on then, I've got an update from Joiin. I'm never quite sure how to say this because it's like Joiin, and I'm like, is it Join or Joiin or something? I never. Anyway,
Join, just Join.
I'm turning into
come
bloody
on,
Ryan here, aren't I? Christ,
we're running out of domain names. Join.
yeah, absolutely. Anyway, let's get into the updates because it's really quite simple, but also very, very cool. The key one that I'm really excited about is the launch of an Excel add-in, because of course I'm an accountant and I love a bit of Excel, but let's go into it. So they've launched a whole bunch of new reports and dashboards which have been designed around customer use cases. So if you've got, say, an investor ready report pack that you want to produce, you can now do that in there. And that's the kind of stuff that they've built in there. So these are kind of like specific use case example reports, all tailored so it's like one click button away, so you don't have to do anything else. As I said, you've also got the Excel add-in, so you can now pull down that Joiin data into Excel and work on it in Excel. So if you're a bit of an Excel whiz, or you really like to get into like deeper analysis or additional reports and stuff, you can do that. No mention if you can push that data back, but if you could do that, now that would be really exciting and really amazing. And then, of course, we couldn't be talking about a product without talking about AI. They've got some new AI-powered features that help you to identify trends and outliers and KPIs as well, which is all part of their FP&A Insights module. So that's all there to speed things up. And then last but not least, a few integration announcements with Penny Lane and with Puzzle, which are both bookkeeping accounting softwares in other countries outside the UK. And finally, the last thing that they've put in the press release is to remember that as a customer, they're listening to you and they're wanting to hear what you're doing, what you're interested in seeing in the product, and they'll build it. So we were talking about Socket earlier on being really customer led. That also appears to be the way that Joiin are looking to do the same thing with their product development.
One thing to say it, another thing to do it. We need to start seeing what your angle is. RSM US is making a bold move with a $1 billion investment in AI over the next 3 years, which is a bit of a shift in how accounting firms are leveraging technology to deliver value. And we spoke a little bit about this on the last pod when we were talking about some firms are taking a more proactive stance in terms of how they are building technology. So the firm isn't just adopting AI in its raw sense, it's fully integrating agentic AI platforms into its operations, aiming to transform client service delivery across its tax assurance and consulting offers. Why does this matter for accountants? RSM's push is not just about automating workflows, it's about unlocking deeper insights, enhancing agility, driving more impactful services. They're using AI to automate and to stay on top of the regulatory changes so that it's about boosting their efficiency and responsiveness to client needs, etc. It's I think this is interesting given that AI is becoming more of a strategic core to how they'll interact with middle market companies, and those accountants who embrace that type of technology will be able to work a lot smarter with a faster solution in hand compared to those who don't really have a stance on their own agentic AI and where it should fit. I think it's a game changer of an investment, and a bold one to make, 1 billion for the next 3 years. I think, given it's probably a drop in the water for most nations, but at a company level, it's very relevant for CFOs, especially where generative AI is going to be trained and be much more intuitive with the financial reporting, given the amount of data they already have to train the model. So it's rapidly evolving, I guess, for them, and how they'll see the stance of how it will be executed in the practice. I really loved this, John. I don't know that we would have an equivalent in the UK, especially where, we're starting the pod with the Big Four slashing graduate jobs for AI without actually announcing how much more they're investing in AI or agentic AI, for that matter, compared to this article from RSM.
I mean, the Big Four, certainly UK, probably internationally, have made big announcements about investments into AI, probably around about a year ago, and they were big numbers like this, billions of pounds worth. I guess the question that I have for RSM, which is the same as it had for the big boys as well, was, is this £1 million cash invested in technologies, or is this a reallocation of individuals, in which case part of this investment is going to go towards the salaries, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just wondering, how they're allocating this investment and stuff. Because I mean, when you see investment, I think typically we think, oh, that's going into something fairly tangible and not kind of the operating costs of a business. No, that's not to say that's right or wrong. I'm just asking the question. And I think what's really interesting from an RSM US point of view in particular is that the PE market in the US has picked up big time over the last couple of years, and they've really gone after the PE firms, have really gone after the really big firms, and RSM US are one of the few firms that have said we definitely want to stay independent and out of this market. So it's a proof of the pudding that you don't need PE money to make these big large scale investments in enhancing the way that you operate your business. One final thing on AI agents then from Digits, which is the only creator of an autonomous general ledger, this new acronym that we're getting used to, an AGL. So Digits, in case you're not aware, is based over in the US. Historically, I guess, used to be just a kind of, I say used to be because that's doing them a disservice, but was a chat service that you could integrate into things like Xero and QuickBooks, and then broadly moved into doing some of the day-to-day bookkeeping and things. And now they have decided that they've launched this general ledger, which effectively replaces their requirement to rely on a third party and allows them to do all of what they were doing before, that bookkeeping side of things, in-house within their own product. And their announcement here is around the fact that they've designed a whole bunch of AI agents to take away, of course, the manual, frustrating, time-consuming work that we all get involved in. And they've got 3 agents. One is a bookkeeping one that categorizes, matches, and cleans up data whilst users approve the exceptions. They've got a finance agent that helps with creating dashboards, and that helps you to identify trends automatically within your data. And then finally, the reporting agent that drafts interactive reports to include charts and insights, which I guess for me is probably the one that's easiest for them to produce, because that's very similar to what their kind of original chatbot used to do, because you could get it to tell you, say, like your marketing trend or something like that in terms of investment and spend. The thing that really interested me, though, in this press release it's less about the agents, because I mean, I think, those things that have been announced, all fine, but they already kind of exist on the market already. So this isn't really brand new and exciting. And, we're going to see more and more of it. What would be really cool to see from a bookkeeping agent, for example, would that an agent that not only categorizes and, posts the original adjustments, but also does things like the accruals and prepayments, and does it all in one place and accurately. But I saw these stats, and I thought this was really impressive. So according to Digits, when they compared the performance of their bookkeeping agent to that of 12 outsourced accountants, so not a big sample, but the company found that their AI agent delivered 97.8% accuracy, whilst the human accounts were 79.1% accurate. It also found that the AI agent was 8,500 times faster and operated at 24 times lower cost So no wonder the likes of RSM and everyone else are making these kind of investments.
Yeesh. Oh, that is a count. That's impressive and scary.
8,500 times faster. That is mind-blowing, isn't it? Absolutely mind-blowing.
No, it's the way the world is going, so we're surprised. But yeah, that I think quality in is quality out at the end of it. So we've got options, and we've got the ability to learn more from things like the AI, something that you guys went to, and we've still got a little bit of a way to go in terms of seeing how this really impacts like the livelihood and the routes forward that most of us will take. So it's sort of scary but exciting.
Absolutely. Indeed. Well, there you go. That wraps up another episode of the Digi-Tools and Accrual podcast. I'm delighted to say, of course, that we're here every week, released on a Monday, ready for you to listen to. And a reminder that we have the live stream that goes out on Thursday morning at 9 a.m, where we deep dive into a particular news item just to explore that in a little bit more detail than we get the chance to here. And equally, if you want to catch up with your news in written form, we do the newsletter that goes out every week as well on a Friday, so you can catch all the latest, greatest news as it happens, because obviously there's a little bit of a delay whilst we pull this podcast together and collate everything. And finally, one final shout out to Free Agent, our huge sponsors. Very, very proud to be sponsored by you, and it's great to work in collaboration with the friendliest accounting software in the world.
And also the most intuitive and well connected to other payment and financial systems.
Oh, you're such a nerd.